So if you are a Vice President Welfare candidate, please raise your hand just so we can add you to be a panelist. To remind everyone, the Vice President Welfare, as the name suggests, looks after the welfare of all students in general. So this covers things like mental health, it covers things like housing, finance, and the general well-being of the student population. So we have a lot of candidates for this role. I'm not sure that everyone is able to make it today. So again, make sure to check out the website to find out more. I don't think we have any videos for this one, do we?
No videos for this one.
Okay, cool. In that case, let's go on to the introduction. So please can you say your name and your course? And I'll start with Munir.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, my name is Munir Hussain and I am a third year computer science and maths student.
Perfect, thank you. Next on my screen is Muna.
Hi everyone, I'm a third year medical genetics student and yeah, I'm Muna.
Great. Next is Beatrix.
Hi, I'm Beatrix, pronouns she, her, and I am a second year French and Russian student.
Thank you. Next is Nino.
Hi everyone, I'm Nino. I'm a software engineering for business student and my pronouns are he, him.
Thank you. And then we've got Alina. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong.
Hi, my name is Elena and I'm a first year history student.
Thank you, Elena. And I think that is everyone. So yeah, let's go straight into it. And anyone who has a question, please raise your hand. And oh, there's some hands going up. So let's hear from Khalid and then from Raheem.
Hi.
Go for it.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, we have a lot of welfare services, like cancer and whatnot, but we still see that the general mental well-being of students has gone down, especially over COVID and, with people feeling isolated and alone. So I just want to know, why do you think that is? And what do you think could be done to change this, I guess, fall in mood?
Cool, thank you. And can we hear from Raheem, please?
Yeah, this actually follows on from Khalid's question. So a lot of first years have come into QM with a lack of cohesion of community because of the new online setup. What plans do the candidates have in order to essentially, when they come in a second year, to allow them to integrate properly, to allow them to have that opportunity to be able to finally engage with the QM community?
Thank you. Sweet. So I will just repeat the question just so everyone is ready. So the first question is about, wait, what is the first part? What now? So why do you think that despite the welfare services, that mental well-being of students is low, and what can be done about that? And then the second question is, what plans do you have to help first years who've not had that community this year integrate into the student community? So two good questions. I will start with Nino. And you have a minute and I'll raise my hand halfway through just to let you know.
Okay, thank you. So for the first question, I believe that the main problem why the mental health is still declining, well, obviously besides the current COVID situation and generally impacting mental health, I believe the communication we are receiving from the management team and from general Queen Mary staff simply doesn't really, it's not really a proper interaction with students. And I believe that the staff needs to undergo further training for how to address students. And other than that, I believe that all the decisions Queen Mary has made, at least this year, have been quite, haven't been quite in tune with what they should have done, which is just caused general dissatisfaction. And sorry, what was the second question again?
You have 3 seconds left, so I don't think you have time for the second question, unfortunately, but I'll repeat it for the other panelists. The second question is about first years. What plans do you have to help them to interact with the student community? But thank you very much, Nino. I will go next to Elena.
Hi, sorry. Yeah, really good questions. And I couldn't agree more. The reason why I believe welfare is going down despite all the services is the lack of communication between people. You know, we don't have social interactions. There's nothing we can pretty much do. We're all stuck at home doing nothing but work. And I think the workload has, you know, been a problem in that. And what to do is, I genuinely think to help with that, I aim to, like from my manifesto, as I said, I aim to do meditation sessions, to like any kind of help we can give, that'll be done. And as a first year myself, for the second question, it has been really hard. And I think the main thing to do is when we come into second year, we need societies, because we don't know what societies are. Most of us are quite unknown. Societies, events, maybe something even like freshers, because we didn't really get a freshers experiment, something like that. A lot more active communities where we can all get together.
Cool, that was perfectly timed. Thank you, Elena. I'll next go to Muna.
Hi, so thank you for the questions. In terms of mental well-being, I think there's a lot of reasons that obviously it's increased the fact that COVID is happening. So we've kind of been expected to function as normal, even though we're sat at home staring at our screens all day. And this hasn't really been recognized. And then we're spending loads of time on social media. And this means that we're being exposed to a lot. And so we do need a lot of professional services and a lot of professional help. And that's why I'd really like to put in a lot more work into the counselling services and the student support services as well at QM. In terms of first years, so I worked on the buddy scheme this year. And honestly, I felt so bad for the first years. But I think the buddy scheme needs to be expanded to be like a whole university thing, and then also an increase in budget so that we can actually do events and like hold things that people would be incentivized to actually come to.
And that is time. Thank you. And now we'll go to Beatrix.
Hi, so in terms of the first question, I'm not going to repeat what has already been said. I think that's quite clear. I also agree. I also think that one of the big reasons is that with online teaching, it's really easy to disengage, and that there's often not a lot of follow-up support from lecturers and from academic advisors when students aren't engaging very well. I think a key thing to help improve that, well, I think another key issue is also students not feeling that they can access appropriate mental health resources, and pushing that out further, creating toolkits, I think would be really great. Quickly moving on to the second question, I think a good thing for us to do in order to re-engage second year students is in perspective, would be to work alongside societies officers to make sure that these are going to be really accessible, and also working alongside course reps and stuff like that to make sure that we can understand why students feel disengaged and unable.
That is time. Thank you. And finally going to Munir.
Yep, thank you. So the first question, I think obviously is to do with the fact that we're assuming that people are going to come to us when they have problems. When anyone who's been in a low point knows that, you know, one of the hardest things to do is to admit that there's something wrong to yourself, and especially even harder to someone else. And so we need to sort of take this approach where we're going to the people rather than waiting for them to come to us. And so something like, you know, even we know that people go to lectures, so something just as simple as asking at the beginning of a lecture, you know, how is everyone feeling on a scale of 1 to 10, you know, 1 being really bad and 10 being really great. It gives you like an idea of how things are going. The second question, I think obviously there's so much stuff that could be done, but we need a welcome fair that works. Obviously in first year, I've seen it, you know, it can be amazing. And obviously this year at second year as well, and this year it wasn't what it was supposed to be. we need a welcome fair that works. Right from the beginning, we have to make sure that they feel very welcome and very, a part of this amazing community.
Cool, thank you, Munir. And I'm just going to check. I'm scared that I've missed someone else. Okay, I don't think I have. Sweet. Let's take another round of questions. I already see some hands up. There's a lot of hands up. So I'm going to go to Matt and I'm going to go to Adriana.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. I'm going to ask a question about kind of welfare provisions on other campuses, because one of the things that we wanted to improve on this year before the pandemic hit was improving welfare access across campuses in different parts of the university. It's really important to recognise that there are students who are based elsewhere and perhaps they don't have access to welfare. So how are you going to address that issue, especially considering that certain campuses such as the BR campus might be seeing very real welfare issues following the COVID pandemic, as many students are on the wards seeing kind of COVID in their day-to-day placements?
Thank you, Matt. And I think I said Adriana, so if you'd like to ask your question.
Hi. In dealing a lot with questions of welfare this year during the pandemic, I've noted that, sorry.
Can you hear me? I think I had my sound in the, sorry. In dealing a lot with, sorry. In dealing with welfare this year, I note that a lot of the time, I would see students asking for money for rent and food and getting emails from the university that offered workshops on how to budget or be less stressed, which felt like a very tone-deaf response. How will you, in your position, deal with the element of wellness that is the financial strain everyone, and especially students, are under during COVID?
Thank you. That is a very topical question. So just to recap for everyone, the first question was about the welfare provisions on other campuses and what access students on other campuses have to that welfare support, who will need welfare support, and how will you deal with that? And the second question was to do with the financial strains that students are facing, where the current university responses seem to be not that direct. So same as last time, you'll have a minute to answer questions. This time I'm going to start with, I'm going to start with Muna.
Yeah, so honestly, really great questions. Matt, what I'd say in terms of for like the other campuses, I think, so on my manifesto, I spoke a lot about Barts and London students, and that's because I speak to them a lot. And I found out that actually when they're on out firms, they also struggle with mental health. And I believe that there should be a dedicated counselling service for the Barts students. And there should also be welfare check-ins in out firms as well as on the Barbican campus. So yeah, all of these things that we should do for BART students. The other question in terms of the financial assistance, obviously I'm also a person who's benefited from this assistance fund, but what I really struggle with is how difficult the process is to apply for finance, especially when you're in a tough spot. So I think with financial assistance, it should be given to people prospectively rather than retroactively. So you're not in a really tough situation.
Thanks, Mina, that's time. Next, I will go to Munir.
Yep. So for the first question, I think is something that we need to get used to, that anytime we introduce something in one place, we need to introduce it across all places. And obviously, with the unique experiences that people have, we need to adapt to those things. So like the people that are on placements and outcomes and stuff like that, they obviously will need specific, unique requests and needs. The second question, obviously, the financial assistance fund came in but it is like sort of like this weird mess of loopholes and weird like you know, these things that you need to navigate. I think it goes without saying that it needs to be made a lot easier. Now is not the time to, you know, make sure you're fulfilling all of this criteria and being eligible for stuff. But another thing I would say is that the stuff that we already do have, like bursaries and scholarships, they really do need to come earlier. You know, we can't be waiting until February to get in for, you know, getting those kinds of things, especially like with, you know, maybe other years is all right, but this year and the years to come with the pandemic, it really needs to just come as soon as the term starts.
Thanks, Munia. That is time. I'm going to go to Beatrix next.
Yeah, so addressing them back to front, I definitely have to agree with what Munir said actually about the bursaries and scholarships coming too late. Students need support from the beginning, not halfway through the year. I also believe that the financial assistance fund is great, but the access to it is terrible. And there needs to be better access for students. Again, as Munir said, these like loopholes and weird ways through it. It's a difficult process to navigate, and it needs to be better and more access for postgrad and international students as well. And then addressing welfare on other campuses. I think it's honestly disgraceful that after this pandemic, during this pandemic, medical students haven't had adequate support from the university. And I agree, I think definitely clinics should be set up at the Barts campus and at other campuses at times that are actually accessible to these students who have a very different timetable layout to most at Mile End.
But thank you very much. And I will move on to Nino.
Okay, so first to address the welfare on other campuses, the services that are currently there are quite frankly inadequate, as all of the candidates noticed. There really need to be new services available, new clinics set up, as well as preferably online one-to-one conversations with the students and counseling in such a manner where the students wouldn't be required to travel to the Mile End campus. As for the financial strain that the currents are currently suffering, so I'm actually also part of the strike committee. We are currently trying to help in those. But I believe the accommodation prices as well as tuition fees should be somewhat refunded, and there should be a reduction to accommodation prices, especially for people with lower household income, and the accessibility for hardship funds should be a lot better.
Thank you, that is time. And finally, I'll go to Elena.
I have found out from my Slate members that we had the 24/7 hotline, welfare hotline, and I aim to make that a more coherent awareness, and like it'll be a service available to everyone, all campuses. And I didn't even know this service was available to us. So like I said, more coherent. And like I said, online, everything's been online this year. We've found out the significance of it. So perhaps I'll move my meditation sessions like online, everyone can attend, it will be available for everyone. And in terms of finance, my manifesto does state that I aim to put a student financial awareness week to give advice on student finances and possibly part-time work, any kind of opportunities for that. And also the rent strikes, obviously CAM has given the worst offers in any university. So I aim to work with other local council to improve living conditions in private homes and reduce rents, hopefully, by working with this.
Thank you. That's my timer going off. Cool. I think, is that everyone? Paranoid now. Cool. I think I will take 2 more questions. As long as no one stops me and says we're running out of time. So I'm gonna ask Yanlu, Zhao, and Shamima. So Yanlu, do you want to go first? If you're talking, we can't hear you. Let's go to Shamima first. There were some other hands up. Let's go, Shamima, ask your question, please.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. I just wanted to ask, so as an executive officer, you have a year to make a change, and frankly, a year is not a long time, so you really have to work on prioritizing things. If there was one thing you would definitely not drop and not prioritize and make sure to prioritize, what is that one thing you would like to accomplish in your year as an executive officer?
Thank you. Are you there, Yanlu? Did you want to ask a question? Yes, okay, we can't hear you. So maybe if you type the question in the chat, because yeah, no sound is coming out. Cool, so I'll just recap Shamima's question while Yanlu is typing. So the question is, in the 1 year, what would be the one thing that you would like to prioritize this year in front of everything else? And just waiting for the chat to come through. I feel like I should entertain you guys. I don't really know any jokes or anything like that, sorry.
Tiana, I wonder if it would be an idea to ask to go do a 30-second round for that one question.
Yeah,
while we're waiting.
Sounds good. Okay, let's do that. So to answer Shamima's question, you've got 30 seconds and we will start with, oh wait, it's just come through, so I might as well add it. So this question from Yanni says, how will you rebuild our school life after the epidemic is over? So let's start with, who should we start with? Let's start with, I can't see people's names. Let's start with Nino.
Sorry, did you say Nino or?
Yeah, I said Nino.
Oh, sorry. So the one thing I would focus on mostly if I had to cut everything else would be the general reduction in fees, mostly on accommodation fees, as I believe that it also inconveniences all the other points that I'm supposed to take care of, meaning mental health and physical strain on students, as the currently quite high prices can take out a lot of time and apply a lot of stress. People also need to find jobs to be able to afford it, and it would basically be the main point I'd focus on. As for the second question, I believe the best strategy for the life on campus to get reactivated would be events, various events for students to meet up, to meet new people, as well as building just certain bubbles for where, for example, the uni body scheme where they could make friends, which they couldn't in their first year.
That is time. Thank you, that's time. We'll go next to Elena.
I guess as well, we're working on really important things, but if I had to pick one, I'd work on the non-detriment policy, because I feel that it's out of the question that we are expected to excel and do the same standard of work in these kind of conditions, and I'd work like with all roster groups, you know, it will be national, not just obviously we can't do it because we're part of a roster group. And in times of building the school life after this pandemic, it'll be like Nina said, I think societies and events, I think the union has to be more involved. We need to be involved with the students. I don't think I didn't even hear about the union until I started to run for this. So we need to be more involved, more in, like, we need to run stuff basically. And as everyone else has said, give a mic to the students.
Thank you. I'll go next to Mania.
Yeah, so I think the one thing I would focus on maybe, I think is something that has really needed attention for a really long time, is the issues around housing. So obviously all of the demands that were given by the rent strike, those demands I think would be my priority. I think that's the biggest voice, like the biggest sort of pain right now that we're feeling. So I think that's just something that really needs to get done. The second question, I think that when it comes to welfare, one of the ways that a student's welfare is met is through the society. So especially like, you know, if you're from a minority, you get to be with people that you click with. And I think that, you know, giving people the opportunities to societies, even just like simple room bookings and stuff like that, as soon as we possibly can, getting events back on campus, I think that would be the best way to make uni feel like uni again, really. Thanks.
Let's go to Beatrix.
Yeah, so in terms of the first question, I think that's a really hard question. I don't think anything on my manifesto I would willingly give up. But I think something that's really important is well-being. I think that kind of has a knock-on effect with everything, and student well-being is at an all-time low at the moment. The pandemic has really drastically affected that. So continuing to maintain and build upon initiatives that are already in place, like Be Kind to Your Mind, will be really important, and pushing that out and making sure that these services are really accessible. And in terms of rebuilding uni life after COVID, I think it will be a gargantuan effort to try and return to normal. And the best way to do that will be to re-engage the student body, as has already been said, organising events with societies, collaborations, offering lots of events, and yeah, it's going to be quite hard.
That's time, thank you. And finally going to Muna.
Yeah, so the one thing that I think I would prioritize is counselling services, basically improving the response time from counselling services, increasing the number of hours that you get in a session, or the number of sessions that you get, and specifically dedicated counsellors for BAME and LGBT students to ensure that they feel completely supported. And then this will obviously, being completely supported ensures that you do your best work. I also want to make sure that you can access these counselling services through the app rather than MySys, because it's very, very quick. In terms of the second question on events and stuff in the university, I think it is very, very important to increase student engagement. Obviously, it's much easier in person, but being a president of a society, I've realized how we can really engage with our students and ensure that everyone is taking part.
And that is time. Thank you, Mina. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I've slightly overrun, so we're gonna quickly move on to the closing statements. So you have 45 seconds to just sum up yourself as a candidate. So let's start with Elena.
I would love to be a vice president on welfare next year. And as a first year, and being the first year group to attend university in a pandemic as a first year, I am aware of how hard it has been. The workload has been unlike anything we are used to. And the expectation to excel in these circumstances have led to deteriorating mental health. This is why my key policies include working on non-detriment policy and nationally, and also introducing meditation sessions. I believe I am experienced enough to help, as during my first year in sixth form, I was a team leader for a mental health awareness campaign, which came second nationally, and we also left behind a successful legacy, which the Mindful Monday meditation sessions still run today. I also co-founded a COVID-19 focused online mindfulness society to combat lockdown-induced anxiety. And one...
sorry, that is time. Thank you though, and we'll move on to Muna.
Yes, so over the past 3 years at QM, I feel like I've learned quite a lot, and I've spoken to a lot of people from different campuses, and I've made a lot of friends, but also it's taught me a lot of skills. And also now I feel like I know quite a lot about what people like and dislike about the university, but that's not where it ends. Over this campaign, I've realized that a lot of people have ideas, they're just not being put out there. And I'd really, really love to be able to amplify your voice. So thank you.
Thanks, Mina. Let's go to Mania.
Yeah, I think that the choices that are going to be made in the next year are going to be really important. I think they're going to have an effect. Maybe not on uni. Uni always is changing, but at least on us, even when we leave, it might follow us. And I think that when it comes to like positions of responsibility, from the ones that I've had before, my predecessors, they would always sort of grill this into me, that leadership, like the best kind of leadership is when the people at the top are most concerned with the people at the bottom. And that's the kind of, you know, example that I want to follow. So if that's the kind of thing that you want to see, then, you know, you can vote for me, and we'll see it through. Thanks.
Thank you. Let's go now to Nino.
So I want to invite everyone to check out my Instagram page if you already haven't, to which you can find the link on the QMSU website, and on it you can find my manifesto, the direct changes I want to implement, as well as my opinions and stances on various issues. And I'm always happy to answer any individual questions anyone might have. And I want you to primarily make a well-informed decision, and should you vote for me, know that you have voted for someone proactive and involved who wants to stand for you and your voice. And my slogan is, it's time for a change, for true solidarity, for a better tomorrow. And I want to be the vessel for exactly that. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, Beatrix.
Over the last year, as the current disabled and SLD rep for Myland, I've been really involved with advocacy, campaigning and implementing welfare initiatives at both the student union and the university level. Having worked closely with our current VP welfare and community and a number of key university stakeholders, including head of advice and counselling and DDS, I've gained really key experiences and skills, and have already begun to establish important networks that will be needed to access in order to effectively advocate for students. My policies found on my manifesto and Instagram, you can see that on the QMSC website, aim to maintain and build upon policies already in place and introduce new measures that will impact positive change for all students.
Sorry, Beatrix, but thank you. And thanks to all the candidates for coming this evening.